Myself Dr. M. Laxmidevi, Associate Professor in the Department of CACDS at Institute of Aeronautical Engineering. In this video lecture, we'll see some more programs based upon nested loops, that too patterns. So we have already we have seen in the previous video lecture some of the patterns. So in this, we'll see some more patterns. So these are the different patterns for which we are going to write the programs by using nested loops. So nested loops are nothing but loops in a loop inside another loop. So here first pattern is mainly we will be using for loops. Nested for loop we will be using for printing, for writing the programs for printing these different patterns. So first pattern is Floyd's triangle. This is another pattern, as you can see. So this one is another pattern and this is another pattern where you need to print only ones and zeros. And this is Pascal's triangle. Next pattern is this one. These are the different patterns which we are going to print. For these different patterns, we are going to write the programs. Now let us see the first one, that is Floyd's triangle. So Floyd's triangle is, so this is a Floyd triangle pattern. So as you can see here, so if the user is entering the number of rows as 1, so only one element will be printed. So that is number 1 will be printed. If the user is entering 2, so if there are 2 rows, then correspondingly 2 and 3 will get the output as this one. So if the user is giving number of rows as 3, so then 3 row elements will be printed. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So as you can see here, so this is how this part we are going to write the program for. So here we are declaring variables of type integer. So I and j, since we are using nested loops, nested for loop, so we need 2 looping variables. So these are the 2 looping variables which we are using. I, j, and this one is the rows. So rows specifies the number of rows which the user will enter. Next c is equal to 1. This is a constant here. By means of scanf function, we are going to read the value of rows into the variable rows. So number of rows as specified by the user. Now this loop, outer for loop, will repeat. So as you know that nested loops, so in order to print the pattern, we use nested loops. So nested for loop we are using here. So this one is the outer for loop and this one is the inner for loop. So outer for loop will iterate from 1 to the number of rows. So that means for I is equal to 1 to I is less than or equal to the number of rows which the user has entered. Suppose the user has entered I rows is equal to 5. So this will repeat, outer for loop will repeat from 1 to 5. So I will vary from 1 to I is equal to 2, I is equal to 3, I is equal to 4 and I is equal to 5. So for this each value of I, so this inner for loop will repeat. Now let us see how this pattern is going to. Now when I is equal to 1 here, j is equal to 1. So here j is equal to 1. This inner for loop will vary from j is equal to 1 to j less than or equal to I. So first iteration I is equal to 1. So this will vary from j is equal to 1 to j less than or equal to I. So only one time it will repeat. So inner for loop will repeat one time and it will print the value of c. What is c here? C is a count variable. So which keeps on incrementing in each iteration, as you can see here. So we have initialized the value of c. So first c will be print, its value is 1. So 1 will be printed here. So this is the output we get when this for loop is executed. So after this, c value is incremented by 1. Now c value is equal to 2 now. Now c value is equal to 2. After that, this cursor will move to the next line and then I value is incremented by 1. I is equal to 2. So for this, these statements will be printed, the number of times for which this condition is true. Now j is equal to 1 to, inner for loop will repeat from j is equal to 1 to, so j less than or equal to I. So this will repeat for j is equal to 1, c value will be printed. So in the previous iteration c value is 2. So now 2 will be printed and again c value is incremented by 1 and then again this loop will repeat for j is equal to 2. So it will print the next value of c, that is 3. So in this way, so after this inner loop will repeat or this will iterate for 2 times. So 2 and 3 will be printed. After that, the cursor will move to the next line and then again the outer for loop will, the I value is incremented by 1. So now I is equal to 3. So this inner for loop will repeat 3 times. J is equal to 1 to 3. So j is equal to 1 to 3. This will repeat and it will print the values of C. So that is 4, 5 and 6. So 4, 5 and 6 will be printed. So inner loop will iterate 3 times. So it will print these values of C. Now next again when I is equal to 4, so inner loop will repeat for 4 times. J is equal to 1 to 4. So next value of C is 7. So 7, 8, 9 and 10 will be printed. So in this way you can see here. So this loop, outer for loop will take the value 5, and for this value j will vary from 1 to 5. J is equal to 5 and it will print the value 11, 12, 13, 14 and 15. So in this way, after that it will come to this line. This statement will be executed. This condition becomes false here, since if the user is entering 5, number of rows as 5, so I is less than or equal to 5. So 6 less than or equal to 5, that is condition is false. So therefore program will exit. So this program we can execute for any number of rows. So here if you run this program and if we give the value of rows as 5, so this is the output of this program. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 and 15. So in this way we are going to get the output. Now next pattern. So this is another pattern. So this pattern is called as Pascal's triangle. So Pascal's triangle is, so if the depends upon the number of rows which are entered by the user. So this is one test case which is evaluated for the number of rows is equal to 5. So when the user enters the number of rows as 1, so we'll get the output as 1. If the number of rows are 2, then 2 row values will be printed, and these are the 2 values which will be printing. So if the number of rows entered by the user is the 3, then we'll get the output as, so next value is equal to addition of these 2. So it is equal to 1 plus 1 is equal to 2, and then last value will be equal to 1. So here you will get 1 plus 1, 2. So in this way we have to get the pattern here. So for this we have written the program. So we have declared variables rows to take the number of rows, and CAL value is equal to 1, and space is also integer value. I is looping variables. I and j are looping variables. So enter the number of rows. The number of rows, these are to be specified by the user. This outer for loop will repeat from 0 to the number of rows. So from 0, suppose the user is entering rows is equal to 5. Rows is equal to 5. So I will vary from 0 to 5. That means it will vary from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I is equal to 0 in the first iteration, I is equal to 1. In the second iteration, I is equal to 2, I is equal to 3, I is equal to 4. So in this way, outer for loop will repeat for 5 times. Now let us see how the inner for loop will be executing. So for I is equal to 0, so when I is equal to 0, so as you can see here, so we need to print the spaces as well as the numbers. So in order to print the spaces, so we have used variable space. So space is equal to 1 to space less than or equal to rows minus I. Suppose rows is equal to 5. So 5 minus I value is equal to 0. So this will be 5. So 1 to 5 spaces will be printed. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 spaces will be printed. So inside this, so this for loop, this printf statement will execute 5 times. Because this is the condition, till this condition becomes false. So this printf statement will be executed till this condition becomes true. So this will execute for 1 to 5 minus I. So where I is equal to 0, this will execute for 5 times. Next, at the same time, so after the execution of this for loop, so control is transferred here. So this for loop statements also will be executing here. So for the same value of I. Now j is equal to 0 to, now j will take the value from 0 to j less than or equal to I. So since I is equal to 0, so for this j is equal to 0, it will execute this, these statements will be executed. Now you can see here, So if j is equal to 0, so here CAL value is equal to 1. So here this condition becomes true. So therefore CAL value is equal to 1 and this statement will be printed. So j is equal to 1. In the next iteration, this condition becomes false and it will, control is transferred here. Next statement, control is transferred to the, then cursor will come to the next line. So after that again I is equal to, in the next iteration of the outer for loop, I is equal to 1. Now the space, so this inner for loop will, which is going to print the spaces, so that will take the value from space is equal to 1 to, so this is 5 minus 1 which is equal to 4. So therefore 4 spaces will be printed here, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So here 1 will be printed because CL is equal to 1. So 4 spaces will be printed. After that control is transferred here. So this for loop statements will be executed. So j will vary from 0 to j is equal to I. Now I is equal to 1. So 0 to 1, that means 2 times. So this for loop will execute. So it will take the values j is equal to 0 and 1. Now let us see what is the value for when j is equal to 0. So when j is equal to 0, you can see here CAL value is equal to 1. And then in the next iteration, CAL value is equal to, in the next iteration j is equal to 1 because j is incremented by 1. So when j is equal to 1, now it will come, so this condition becomes false. So therefore it will come to the else block and this formula is applied. So where CAL is based upon the previous value of CAL. So previous value of CAL is already 1. So 1 into, so you can find out this 1 into, this is I minus j. So this is I, 1 minus j value is equal to 1 plus 1. This divided by j. That means this is equal to 0 plus 1, 1 divided by 1, 1 into 1 is equal to 1. So for this also CAL value is equal to 1. So therefore 2 times 1, 1 will be printed. Next after that, when I is equal to 2. When I is equal to 2, so the outer for loop, now cursor moves to the next line and it will print the spaces based upon this for loop and it will print the CAL value based upon this for loop. So this for loop is to print the spaces. Now when here spaces is equal to, when I is equal to 2 here, spaces is equal to 1, 2. So space value is less than or equal to rows minus I. So that means 5 minus 2, this is equal to 3. So 3 spaces will be printed here. So 1, 2, 3. So after that, so control is transferred here. Now this inner for loop will execute for j is equal to 1 to j less than or equal to I. So that means it will take the value 3 times this inner for loop will be executed. So j is equal to 1, j is equal to 0, 1 and 2. Now let us see what is the value of CAL for these different values. So when j is equal to 0, so control is transferred here. CAL value is equal to 1. So this 1 will be printing. Then after that, when j is equal to 1, so CAL value, this condition becomes false and control is transferred here. So this formula will be applied now. Now when j is equal to 1, CAL is equal to, so it is based upon the previous value of CAL, this into I minus j. So what is I? 2 minus, so j value is equal to 1. So plus 1 divided by j. J is equal to 1 here. So 2 minus 1, 1, 1 plus 1, 2. So 2 into 1 which is equal to 2. So 2 will be printing here. Now when j is equal to 2 here, when j is equal to 2, previous value of CAL will be applied here. So CAL is equal to 2 into I minus j. So I is equal to 2. 2 minus 2 plus 1 divided by j. So this is equal to 2 into, which is equal to 1. So in this way, in the next row, for the third iteration, so this value will be printed. So after leaving 3 spaces, 1 to 1 will be printed. So this is what we will get the output. So when it is at third iteration, when I is equal to 4, so in this way the loop will repeat, and in the next iteration of I is equal to, when I is equal to 0, 1, 2, 3, and this is, so this is for I is equal to 0, This is for I is equal to 1, 2 and 3. So for I is equal to 3, so this values will be printing, and for I is equal to 4, these are the values which are going to be printed. So in this way, we can print the given pattern with the help of this program. So thus, if you run this program, and it will prompt the user to enter the number of rows. Suppose we enter the number of rows as 5. So this is how we'll get the pattern. So this program you can run for any number of rows which are specified by the user. Now next program is to print the given pattern. So this is the pattern we need to print here. So here also we need to specify the number of rows. So based upon the number of rows, we'll get the pattern. So if the user is specifying 1 row, then this is a pattern. If the user is specifying 2 rows, then this is the pattern we need to print. So you can see here. Now let us see. So you can visualize it in this way. So if it is equal to 5, so here we need to have 9 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8 and 9. This is number of rows are 5. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So for here we'll get 1, and in the next row we'll get 1, 2, 3. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and here you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. So as you can see here, as the number of rows goes on increasing, so number of elements to be printed will also go on increasing. Now let us write the program for this. So here also we need to use the nested loops. So there are 3 integer variables I, j and k. So in order to use as looping variables, so we have initialized an integer variable m is equal to 1, and this is the rows which specifies the number of rows. And in order to introduce the spaces, we have taken this variable spaces. So initially you can see here, spaces is initialized with the value rows minus 1. So number of rows minus 1. So this rows value is taken from the user. So, and it is read by means of scanf function. So this outer for loop, so we need to have 3 for loops we are using here. So one for loop to iterate over the rows. So I will vary from I less than or equal to 1. So that means I is less than or equal to the number of rows which are specified by the user. Suppose rows is equal to 5. So this outer for loop will vary 5 times. So 5 times this inner for loop statements will be executed. Now let us see how these statements are executed. So for I is equal to 1, j is equal to spaces. So j spaces value is given by rows minus 1. Suppose rows is 5, 5 minus 1 is 4. So j is equal to 4 to j is greater than or equal to I. So that means 4. So this loop, it will print spaces for j is equal to 4, j is equal to 3, j is equal to 2 and j is equal to 1. That means 4 spaces will be, so 1, 2, 3 and 4. So 4 spaces will be printed. Next, after that, this for loop will be executed. So this for loop, we have taken a variable k. So k varies from, so k is equal to, so for the same value of I, k is equal to 1 to k less than or equal to m. For the first iteration, m is equal to 1. So k is equal to 1. So only for one value, this will be printed. This printf statement will execute, and it is printing the value of k itself. So therefore, k value is equal to 1. So 1 will be printed. So after 4 spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 will be printed. Next, after the execution of this printf statement, cursor will move. So control is transferred here. Now m value is incremented by 2. So previously m was 1, now it is 3. So m is equal to 3 now. And I value is equal to 2. So when I is equal to 2, again these 2 for loops will be executed. Spaces is equal to, that means j variable is used to introduce the spaces. So j is equal to, number of spaces are given by same, 5 minus 1, that is 4. 4 to j is greater than or equal to I. Now I is equal to 2 here. So that means it will, for 4, j is equal to 4, 3 and 2. 3 spaces will be printed, 1, 2, 3. So after that, this for loop will be executing. So this for loop will be executing 3 times because k value is equal to, k less than or equal to m means m value is 3. So this will repeat 3 times. So this printf statement, which is going to print the value of k, so it will repeat 3 times. So for the first iteration, k is equal to 1. Next iteration, k is equal to 2. Third iteration, k is equal to 3. So after that, when this condition becomes false, it will come here. Again, the key value is incremented by 2. Sorry, m value is incremented by 2. Now m is equal to 5 here. So in this way, you can see the program. So this is how we can print the program for printing this pattern. So when we run the program and enter the number of rows as 5, so you can see here, so number of rows are 5, and this is how we are going to print the pattern. Next one, so this is another pattern. So here you can see here, the first row are the numbers from 1 to 8 are printed, where 8 is nothing but the value which is entered by the user. So this corresponds to the number of rows which are specified by the user. So this is in the next row, we need to introduce the spaces. So after leaving one space, we are again going to print the numbers from 1 to 7. So this 7 means 8 minus 1. Then after that, here you can see here, as the number of rows are, as the row count is increasing, row value is increasing, the space value is also increasing. The spaces which are introduced, even they are increasing, and here the number which is going to print, that is decreasing by 1. So previously 1 to 8 is printed, next 1 to 7, 1 to 6, 1 to 5, and so on. So for this, if the user is giving any value as 5, so for 5 rows, so this is the output which you are going to get, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In the next row, one space is introduced, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then 2 spaces are introduced, 1, 2, 3 will be printed. After that 1, 2, and then 1. So this is the output for 5 rows. Now let us see how we can write the program. So I and j are 2 looping variables. N specifies the number of rows. So enter the value of n with the help of enter the value of n. This value is read into the variable capital N with the help of scanf function. Now we have taken one digit declared a integer variable digit. So digit is initialized with the value of n. Now if n is equal to 5, digit is also equal to 5. Now let us see. Now since this loop has to be repeated for the number of times as the rows specified by the user, so therefore it will iterate from 1 to n. So outer for loop will repeat for 5 times. Suppose n value is equal to 5. So it will repeat from 1 to 5. Then let us see how we can print this pattern with the help of 2 for loops here. So this is the outer for loop and these two are the inner for loops. So this is one inner for loop and this one is inner for loop. So after the execution of these statements, after that these statements will be executed. This for loop will be executed. So here this is a for loop. For I value is equal to 1, j will take the value from j is equal to 1 to, so j less than I. So j less than I means 1 less than I. The condition becomes 1 less than 1. This condition becomes false. So for the first row, so this statement will not be executed. Now it will go to this for loop. So j is equal to 1 to j less than or equal to digit. So this j value will be printed with the help of this for loop till this condition becomes false. Now j is equal to digit means j is equal to n. Suppose j is equal to 5, n is equal to 5 here. So we can say that this loop, that means it is going to print 1 to 5. It is going to repeat for 5 times and it is going to print 1 to 5. So this is the output of this for loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now after that, this condition becomes false. So your control is transferred here. Digit value is decremented by 1. So digit value is previously n. Previously it was n, that means 5. Now it is equal to 4. So in the next iteration, now cursor will move to the next line. Control is transferred here. It will start printing from here. Now for I is equal to 2, digit is 4 now. So this will repeat for now j is equal to 1, spaces will be printed for the number of times j is equal to 1 to j less than I. That means 2. So 1 space is printed here. So this statement will be executed one time, and then after that control is transferred here. J is equal to 1 to j less than or equal to digit. That means 4 times j is equal to 1 to j less than or equal to 4. So for j is equal to 1, so it will take the value j is equal to 1, 2, 3 and 4. So corresponding value of j will be printed in the next line, that is 1, 2, 3, 4. So in this way, so each time after the execution of this for loop, digit value is decremented by 1 and the cursor is moved to the next line. So in this way, if we run this program, and this is the output which we are going to get. If we enter the value of n as 8, so this is the pattern which we are going to get. Next program is to print this pattern. So in this pattern you can see here, so here also it is a triangle. So here we need to use three variables I, j and capital N, where n specifies the number of rows. So suppose n is equal to 8 here, a digit is equal to, here also we need to use, so one more integer variable digit, so that is equal to 1. So digit is equal to 1. So outer for loop will vary from 1 to 8. So that means it corresponds to the number of rows. Then inner for loop will vary from, now let us see the execution of the inner for loop. When I is equal to 1, j is equal to 1 to j less than or equal to n minus I. Suppose n is 8, so 8 minus 1, which is equal to 7. So 7 times, so 7 spaces will be printed. So after that, this for loop statements will be executed. Now in this for loop, the variable looping variable is j, so it will vary from, it will take the value, initial value of j is equal to digit. So j is equal to 1 to j greater than or equal to 1. So that means it will execute this statement only once. So after 7 spaces, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 1 will be printed. Next, digit value is incremented by 1. Now digit value is equal to 2. So cursor is moved to the next line. Now I will take the value 2. So for I value is equal to 2. So this is inner for loop. First inner for loop, this is the next inner for loop. J will take the value from j is equal to 1 to j less than or equal to I, n minus I. What is n here? Suppose n is equal to 8, 8 minus 2. 8 minus 2 here. That means 6. So 1 to 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 spaces are left. This statement will be executed 6 times, and then after that, for the same value of I, so j will vary from digit. Digit is 2. So 2 to 1. So j will take the value from 2 to 1. This will, inner for loop will execute 2 times and j value is printed. First value of j is 2. Then after that, in the next iteration, j value is decremented by 1. So j value is equal to 1. After that, the condition becomes false. Control is transferred here. So in the next iteration, digit is equal to 3 now and I is equal to 3. So for this, j is equal to 1 to j less than or equal to n minus I. What is n? 8 minus 3. So this is equal to 5. So 5 spaces are left. So this statement is executed 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then this inner loop will repeat 3 times. So 3, 2, 1 will be printed. So in this way, you will get the pattern. So when we execute this program and enter the value of n as 8, so this is how you are going to get the pattern. So this program can be run for any number of rows. Now let us see another pattern here. So you can see here, so this is also a printing of numbers in triangular fashion. So here we have used same ij variable and n is to specify the number of rows. So it is, n is initialized at runtime. So we have taken a variable of integer type m. M is initialized with the value of n. So we have taken 2 for loops here. So this is the outer for loop and this one is the inner for loop. So 2 loops are sufficient here. So one loop to iterate over the rows and another loop to iterate over the columns. So when I is equal to 1, you can see here. So this will be executed the number of times the condition becomes false. So j is equal to m means, suppose m is equal to 8 here. So it will take the value from j is equal to 8 to 1. So it will execute 8 times. So j will vary from 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The corresponding value of j is printed in the same line. So percentage %d specifies the value of j. Now after printing this value 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So cursor is moved here. The cursor moves to the next line, and then m value is decremented by 1. Now m is equal to 7 now. So when I is equal to 2, m is equal to 7. So j is equal to 7 to j is equal to 1. So 7, one space is printed here. So it will print from 7. So 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So in this way, it is going to run this program. So in this, if you run the program and enter the value of n as 8, so this is the pattern we are going to get with this program. Now let us see another pattern. So this is another pattern. So here if the user specifies the number of columns as 3. So 1, 2 and 3. So this is the pattern which you are going to get. So if the number of columns are 1, this is the pattern. If the number of columns are, so in the next, so if the number of columns are 2, then this is the pattern you are going to get. If the number of columns are 3, then this is the pattern you are going to get. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So for 5, when the user is entering number of columns as 5, so this is the pattern we are going to get. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So when it is 5, the corresponding rows are equal to 5 into 2 minus 1, that is 9. So here we have 9 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. So in the first column and first row, the star pattern is to be printed. Then after that, 2 stars has to be printed. So it will go on increasing. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. After that, 1, 2, 4, 5. So this is corresponding to the number of columns as 5. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So here we are going to get, this is the pattern which we need to obtain. So this is a pattern which we need to print here. So if the user is specifying the number of columns as, so based upon the number of columns which are specified by the user, so the pattern you are going to get. So this is the pattern for number of columns given as 5. Now let us write the program for this. So here we have used looping variables I and j. N is to specify the number of rows, and n specifies the number of columns here. So how many columns? And this is another variable, columns. So here n value is taken from the user. So then column value is initialized to 1. Now let us see the execution of this program. So here we have used 2 for loops along with some condition here. If else statements are also used here. So for the outer for loop will vary from I is equal to 1 to, so I less than n minus n into 2. Suppose n is equal to, so n specifies here columns. So here n is equal to 5. If n is equal to 5 here, so j is I less than n, that means I less than 10. So it will vary 9 times. So it will execute, so this inner for loop statements will be executed 9 times. So I will vary from I is equal to 1 to 9. So I will take the value from 1 to 9. Now let us see how the inner for loop statements are executed. So for I is equal to 1, j is equal to 1 to j less than or equal to columns. So till this condition becomes false, this statement will be executed. That means printing of star pattern. So column value is equal to 5, which has been in. So here columns is equal to 1 here. So one time the star will be printed. Then after that, this condition is checked. So based upon this condition, this columns variable is either incremented or decremented. If it is less than n, So here 1 is less than 5. So this condition is true. So therefore, this column's value will be incremented by 1. So in the next iteration, columns is equal to 2 now. So when after that I is equal to 2. So what is how many stars are to be printed? So that is decided based upon this for loop. So j will vary from j is equal to 1 to 2 because columns value is equal to 2. So j will take the value 1 and 2. So 2 times the star pattern will be printed. So in the next line, this 2 times the star pattern is printed. So after that, 2 less than, this condition is checked. 2 less than n, that means 2 is less than 5. This condition is true. So therefore, column value is again incremented by 1. So now columns is equal to 3 now. For I is equal to 3. So j will take the value from j is equal to 1 to j less than or equal to columns. So that is 3. So 3 times the star is printed, 1, 2 and 3. So after that again this condition is checked. So 3 less than 5. 3 is less than 5. So this condition is true. So therefore this value is incremented by 1. Columns is equal to 4. So in this way, once this condition becomes false, so suppose I is equal to, in one of the iteration I is equal to 6 here. So 6 is less than 5, the condition becomes false here. So at that time, columns value will be decremented by 1. And now the number of stars which we are going to print will be reduced here. As you can see here, so for I is equal to 1, only 4 stars will be printed. For I is equal to 7, so 3 stars. For I is equal to 8, 2 stars. For I is equal to 9, 1 star. So thus, if we run the program, then it will prompt the user to enter the number of columns here. So depending upon the number of columns entered by the user, the pattern you are going to get. Suppose the value entered by the user is 5. So suppose the value entered by the user is 5. So this is the pattern we are going to get. Now next program to print another pattern. Now this is another pattern. So it is in the form of X. You can see here. Now let us see how we can write the program for this. So as you can see here, the diagonal elements, the logic here is all the diagonal when I is equal to j, the corresponding value is to be printed as star. So here star, and we need to print the star and spaces here. So we require 2 for loops here, one to iterate over the rows and another to iterate over the columns. And in each column, we need to print the spaces as well as stars. So based upon the condition, so this is the condition which we need to take into account. Now let us see the execution of this program. So here also we are using 3 variables. One is I, the other one is j, and the other one is n. So n specifies the number of rows here. So and another variable we need to take into account is count variable. So that is of type integer. So enter the value of n. So n specifies the number of rows. Now count is equal to, based upon this n value, count is determined. Now what is count here? So count is equal to n into 2 minus 1. Suppose n value is equal to 5. So now count is equal to 5 into 2, that is 10. 10 minus 1, 9. So that means it will have 9 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 rows it will have. So here also it will have 9 columns also. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. So you will have 9 by 9. So for this you can see here, so here this is the pattern which we are going to print here. So here we have 1 star. So after that, leaving some spaces, we are going to print another star here. So this is the pattern which we need to print here. So for the number of rows, if the number of rows entered by the user is 5, then count value. So based upon count, the number of rows will be specified here. Suppose n value is given as 5. So here number of rows is 9. So that is decided by this n into 2, that is 5 into 2, 10 minus 1, which is equal to 9. So we have two for loops. So one loop is to iterate over the rows. So here rows is nothing but count variable. So it is equal to 1 to 9. So outer for loop will iterate 9 times and inner for loop is there to print the stars and spaces. Now let us see how this for loop is executing. So for I is equal to 1, j is equal to 1 to j less than or equal to count. Count value is equal to 9. So it will execute it will iterate 9 times. So j will take the value from j is equal to 1 to 9. Now let us see what is going to print here. So based upon this condition, which condition is true, either star or space will be printed. So if this condition is true or this condition is true, star is going to print. So for j is equal to I, so if j is equal to I, that means 1 comma 1. So for I is equal to 1, j is equal to 1, star is going to print here. So here this is I and this is j. So for I is equal to 1, j is equal to 1, star will be printing. So else this will be printed. So it will print the star for this condition also. So for when j is equal to 1, so it will execute, star statement will be printed. So when j is equal to, you can see here count is 9. 9 minus 1 plus 1. So that is 8 plus 1, which is equal to 9. So when j is equal to 9 also, the star pattern is printing. So remaining all spaces are filled with, remaining all spaces are left blank. So next for I is equal to 2. So j will take the value from 1 to j less than or equal to count here. So count is 9 only. So it will print the star based upon the condition. So when j is equal to 2, star will be printed. When j is equal to count minus I, that means count is 9. 9 minus I here, 2 plus 1. So 9 minus 2 is 7 plus 1, 8. So for this also star will be printed. So when j is equal to 2 and j is equal to 8, star will be printing. For all other values of j, spaces, it will leave the spaces. So in this way, you can execute this program. So similarly, we can give the value for I is equal to 3 also. So you can see here, for when I is equal to j, it will print star, and also for this value of j also, it will print the star. So in this way, you can execute this program. So when we run the program and enter the value of n as 5, so we will get this pattern. So this program can be run for any number of rows. Now let us see one more program to print the given pattern. So this pattern is also a triangular pattern where we need to print the values 1 and 0 only. So based upon the value of j, you can see here, we are going to print either 1 or 0. So here, if the value of if the value of j is, suppose there are 5 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. J is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So for odd value of j, so we are going to print 1, and for even value of j, we are going to print 0. So when n is equal to 5 is specified, this is the pattern you are going to print. So 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. Now let us write the program for this. So there are 3 variables, I, j and capital N. So I and j are looping variables. Capital N is to give the number of rows here. So enter the number of rows. These n values taken with the help of scanf function. So outer for loop will execute 5 times. So I is equal to 1 to 5. So inner for loop. Now let us see the execution of this inner for loop. So inner for loop will execute from j is equal to 1 to j less than j is equal to 1. So for one value it will execute first time. If j mod 2 is equal to 1. So that means 1 mod 2 is equal to 0. So this condition is false. So therefore this condition is true here. So this is equal to, this condition is true here. So therefore it will print the value of 1. Now here we don't have j value 2. So therefore this for loop is terminated. Then after that again I value is incremented by 1. Now j is equal to 1 to j less than or equal to 1 to 2. So it will check for two values of j. So 1 mod 2 is equal to 1. So this condition is true. So therefore it will print 1. So next after that 1 mod 2 is equal to 1. This condition is false here. So therefore it will print the value 0. So in this way we can print the given pattern. So for even values of j it will print 1. Sorry, for even values of j it will print 0. For odd values of j it will print 1. So this is a simple program. So if you run the program and then this is the output you are going to get. So enter the value of n. Suppose we enter the value of n as 5. Then this is the pattern which we are going to get. So in this way we have seen programs how to write or we have seen the programs to print the patterns. So by using nested for loops. So in the next video lecture we'll see some more concepts of C programming. Until then, thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.